Hey everybody, it's Pastor John with your Midweek Moment for this week. And since it's been a couple of weeks since we took our first tour through the church, I thought we'd do that again this week so you can see just how much change there's been between 2 weeks ago and this week. So why don't we head inside here. And the first thing I want to show you is just the entry hall. The painters are all done in the back of the church. The lecture room, the hall, the choir room, and the kitchen. So we'll start with those rooms first. I just want you to take a second to just see how great everything looks. There are no more cracks in the walls. There's no peeling paint. There's no paint that's chipped along the mop boards. It just looks fantastic. You can see they completely recreated the original colors. It's the exact same shade of green and the exact same shade of ivory on the walls. In fact, they had an ultraviolet thing that did that. They actually took an ultraviolet shot of the paint colors so that they were able to match everything exactly. So that's the situation here in the entry hall. When you walk by here, when we walk you by here, the only thing you'll notice that's missing is the doors are still off the closet. And then that brings us into the choir room, and as you can see, not only are we done with the painting in here, but we've actually started moving stuff back in. And I want you to take a look at this back wall here just for a sec, because you just can't imagine, looking at this wall right now, you just can't imagine the condition that it was in when they first started working in here, because they started by sanding everything. They sanded the walls, they sanded the ceiling, they sanded all the wood trim. And when they sanded these walls, as I think I mentioned when you were first in here, half the plaster fell off this wall. So not only has this wall been completely repainted, but it's been replastered as well. In fact, they've done a tremendous amount of plastering in all of the rooms. Hang on for just a second because we left the back door open. I just want to close it. All right, there we are. We're back. So like I said, we've started moving stuff back in anticipation of our grand reopening on June 20th. So why don't we take a little step now into the lecture room. And if you just take a look at this room for a minute, I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't think I've never seen this room looking this good. Once again, there are no cracks in the wall. Everything's been replastered. All the cracks have been sealed. Everything's been repainted. I mean, the whole room just looks terrific. We've even started rehanging things. And I should just take a second to give a credit to Bill Dahl, his wife Suzanne, and their grandson Colin for this, because they have just worked like beavers on this project, both moving stuff out for the painters and then starting to move stuff back in now that the painters are done. So a lot of thanks to them for all of their hard work on this. So you can see that that's the situation in the lecture room. Why don't we come around here? In case you're wondering, no, the clock has not been fixed. That's one thing that is still going to be the same after we reopen. And then this brings us into the kitchen, which is the first room that they finished. And once again, as you can see, everything is neat, everything is clean, everything, I've been saying to people that, we're going to practically have a brand new church when we reopen. And when you take a look at these walls, you can see what I mean. You can just see that everything really does look brand new because the painters have done such a terrific job. You might notice the mop bucket here. And that is because we've been doing a lot of mopping and cleaning for the past few days, because since they sanded all the walls and all the trim and all the ceilings, the dust level in this space was simply unbelievable. I mean, take like the dustiest situation you've ever been in, multiply it by about 5, and that's how dusty it was back here. In fact, if you want to see how dusty it was in here, we'll go into the sanctuary now, because that's how dusty it is in there right now. Well, I'll bet you've never seen the sanctuary like this before, have you? This is what the process of of heavy-duty restoration painting looks like. As you can see, we've moved a lot of the furniture away and covered it up. Right now, the floors are covered with paper, but they're not as covered with paper as they used to be. Because people have been moving around here, hopefully those are going to be repainted. As you can see, the pipes are still missing out of the organ chest. I was going to show you where they are, but since they've covered up the pews, I can't, because that's where they're sitting. A couple of things I want to point out to you is, why don't we go back down here to the end of the main aisle, and I'll show you something. You see all the white specks on the wall up there, all those white patches? What a lot of that is a new plaster. Because it shows you what the situation has been like in here. There's been a lot of replastering for them to do in the sanctuary, as there was out in the rest of the building. And that's one of the reasons why it's going to be an extra week before the painters get done. The original plan had been for them to be done on June 4th. Now they're not going to be done on June 11th, and the primary reason for that is just all of the prep work and all of the plastering that they've had to do. But, as you can see, they're doing a tremendous job. If you look straight up, you will notice that the ceiling has been completely repainted at this point. In fact, there's a funny story about this. Well, it's funny if you're not hard. What happened was they spray painted the ceiling. And when they did that, they broke the beam. If you look up in that corner, you see a little seeing eye. And over in that corner, right above the organ, you see a little reflector panel. That's actually the fire alarm for this particular room. What happens is if that system detects any smoke or any heat or anything like that breaks the beam, there's actually a little laser beam that goes back and forth between those two things. If there's anything that breaks that beam, that sets off the alarm. And the funny story is that when they were painting the ceiling, they actually set off the alarm because the spray paint broke that beam. So we had a time, I think it was last Friday, when the alarm went off and people started showing up, and they had no idea what they had done, but they actually tripped the fire alarm by spray painting the ceiling. And then if you look straight back now, you can also see the prep work and the plastering work that's been done right around the cross there. So in fact, if you flip around here, you see that there's just a huge amount of plastering and prepping that's been done. And they've actually, if you look up, one thing that I know they've repainted is they've actually repainted the molding at the top of the ceiling there, where the ceiling meets the wall. And you can tell they've done that because there's a little overpainting on the wall that they'll take care of when they paint the wall. Here's one last thing I can show you. There are a couple of spots here where they were sanding. We're under the balcony now. And you can see there are a couple of spots where they've sanded where either the paint and the plaster has just come up in big chunks. And in fact, you can see it. If you look at the pew seat there, you can see all the paint that's just come down in big chunks all over the place. But it's all going to be taken care of. And this is, like I said, this is your second tour of the space. You can see it. You can see the work as it's going on. And depending on how they are in the process, we may give you one more tour of the building before we reopen on the 20th. But like I said, for this week, this is your second tour of the space. And you can see that we are getting, every day, we're getting a little step closer to getting the project done and letting everybody back into the building. So thanks a lot.